15%. The World Health Organization researched in 2022 that 15% of all working adults suffer from work-related depressive disorders. The College Board Stimulus, Moral Courage and Civil Disobedience by Ted Thomas and Ira Chaleff helps us to assert that many military leaders lie to succeed. This because they say that the military has a toxic work environment that promotes selfishness and dishonesty in order to get ahead. This leads us to question, how can we as a society assess neurology to help improve the leadership capabilities of modern leaders? I'm Zidane Williamson, this is Leading with the Brain. My research has deduced that toxic leadership decision making most often stems from physiological error in the prefrontal cortex of the brain. It is important to know, it's important to understand, decision making takes place in the prefrontal cortex, which is split into three parts. The dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which affects working memory, the ventrolateral prefrontal cortex, which affects cognitive flexibility, and the ventromedial prefrontal cortex, which is your inhibitory control. Psychology professors, this research is presented by psychology professors Leanne Young and James Dungan, which conducted fMRI research at Boston College. Their research reveals the ties between moral decision making and specific regions of the brain, which is new information that contradicts old perspectives, which claims that decision making and morality in decision making is an out-of-body experience. Young and James Dungan show that this is tangible. Additionally, Professor Edelson at University of Zurich in Germany has found a way to quantify leadership value and how likely someone is to be a good leader. Leadership scores, as is shown here, has a negative trend with responsibility aversion or avoiding responsibility. Edelson also took fMRI scans that shows that that prefrontal cortex in the top two images leads to the highest probability of becoming a leader. Decision making in these areas has the high probability of being a leader, whilst decision making can also stem from the temporal areas of the brain, but those are more taken back stances and allows groups and an individual would rather allow a group to make a decision than they would. The first problem, age-related cognitive disorders. Professor Yang Wang of RMIT University states a major deficiency among many senior leaders these days is that they are not able to translate visionary strategies and ideas into operational and produce promised results. This poses significant threat to any form of team under a elder leader or senior leader, as it disrupts any execution, as the leaders themselves are not able to, are less likely to conduct an operation that they can visionize. The problem 2, corporate psychopaths. Dr. Bodhi's book, Leaders Without Ethics in Global Business, Corporate Psychopaths. He states, of respondents, 32.1% had ever worked with a manager who could be classified as a corporate psychopath. Now, Dr. Bodie also says that a corporate psychopath has tendencies to manipulate and deceive. This is similar to the military leaders that Ted Thomas and Ara Chalif had brought up before. Now, to solve our first solution, standardizing mindfulness. Mindfulness activities such as meditation derive from Buddhist teachings that preach peace and patience. Standardized mindfulness activities are already in place for patients that have severe anxiety or depressive disorders. In a leadership setting, this would be beneficial to implement, although the limitation is inconsistency. Mindfulness-based programs need to be tackled with certainty, and the person going through them will only be able to get as much out of the program as they are willing to put forward. As in, they need to consistently meditate and participate in these programs to truly see results. Second solution is 360-degree feedback presented by Bernard Marr. 360-degree feedback is defined as, the solution is meant to encourage positive communication in a group directly through the leader. So the leader is able to receive feedback whilst also giving feedback to their peers in a healthy cycle that can avoid lies and deceit and build trust in a team. The limitations of this is social desirability bias. If a team member might give dishonest or inaccurate feedback to the leader based on social peers or what the norms might be, which could then be unhelpful and sometimes detrimental to the team's success. Our final solution is standardizing mindfulness. For all leadership positions, is heavily advocated by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn and Professor Williams. They claim that it is most optimal to address neurobiological deficiencies and enhance leadership capabilities by implementing standardizing mindfulness. Thank you for your time.
All right, Danny, 2 questions for you. First up, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and why did you choose not to use it?
I had evidence that went more into the detail about what age ranges make the most optimal leaders and how long a leader you could expect a leader to remain capable. I didn't use it simply because of time related.
All right, and what advice would you have for other researchers who choose this topic?
Advice for other researchers to choose this topic would be that there are many different perspectives. As I covered briefly, the temporal region also plays a role in decision making, though it was proven to be more standoff decision making instead of decision making that a leader would need to take, which if I were to give someone advice, it would be, repeat the question.
What advice would you have to give to other people that are doing researching this topic?
You need to be sure and specific with what you want to research. I was going to research specifically leadership, and decision making. Although, as I showcased with the temporal region as well as the prefrontal cortex, there is a lot of variety and there's a lot of overlap. You need to be sure what you want to and specify what you want to research.